What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Ehmandah, and welcome to another episode of the Dope Confidence Podcast. I talk to some amazing individuals that have carved their own path to the beat of their own drum. Today, my guest is Emily Jaenson. She is, check it out, y'all. She is a best-selling book author, y'all, of a book called Let's Go. You know, I love to go, a guide to increasing your confidence. And I'm excited to talk to her about her book, talk to her about her experiences, about cultivating her confidence as a woman, as an author, as an entrepreneur, all things women here in this podcast episode today. So I'm going to bring her over. How are you, Emily?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm so happy to have you here in this space with me today. As you can tell, I'm already kind of excited. I love when I talk to people about confidence. And because you have a book called Let's Go Confidence, let's go. Tell me, Emily, a little bit more about what you do to our audience, and then we're going to jump right in about talking about confidence.
Yeah, sure. So today I am a keynote speaker
Oh,
and author, and my topic is confidence. So I help individuals and individuals within organizations increase their confidence so that they can make an impact on both their work and their life outside of the company.
wow. That's awesome. Tell me, why are you called to confidence? When did it first start showing up for you, and why is this such a calling for you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I grew up in a small town outside of Chicago, and I was painfully shy when I was young. So I showed up for school every day and did my work like a good girl, and I played sports and, did well on the field, but talk to a stranger, no way. It
Hmm.
was impossible for me. I mean, I was the definition of hide behind your mom's leg type of girl. And when I was a senior in high school, my mom asked me to pick up the phone and call and order a pizza for the family on Friday night for
Mm-hmm.
dinner. And I promptly handed the phone to my older brother because I was too shy to order a pizza. So I couldn't even call to place an order, let
Wow.
alone have the confidence to go after these big dreams that I had, because in the back of my head, it was burning that I wanted to live in the city. I
Mm.
wanted to work and have a great job and earn a high position within a company. And my dream was that I wanted to do that in the sports industry. I had no clue how to get in or what to do. The only visibility that I had was we would watch football on Sundays and I saw the athletic trainers run out onto the field. So
Uh-huh.
when I got into University of Illinois, I got in as a biology major because I thought I would
Wow.
study physical therapy.
Uh-huh.
Was probably a month into the program before I dropped chemistry and realized that math and science were not my thing. I was much more
Yeah.
creative and
That's me.
wanted to go in that direction. So I found advertising, and I really had two choices. I could pursue an advertising agency job, or I got an offer to work for the Chicago Bulls. So full
Wow.
time salary, benefits with an ad agency in the city, or $9 an hour internship with my favorite basketball team. And
Mm.
I picked my basketball team.
Great choice.
But I'll tell you that my dream job was also a living nightmare, because you won't believe it. My first job was to make 80 cold calls to strangers every day to sell them season tickets. So
Wait a minute. When you found that out, the girl that was definitely afraid of making an order to the local pizza company, when you found that out that you had to make those calls, were you like dying on the inside?
I was absolutely dying on the inside.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I thought, did I make the wrong decision? But I knew that that was my dream. Like that was my goal.
Mm.
My my goal was to work in sports, to have an opportunity to work in that industry. And this was the way that I got the chance to get in and to get started. And what was interesting was that showing up every day to do the very thing that I feared the most really changed me and grew my confidence in ways that I couldn't imagine, to push myself to do things that I never thought that I could do. And
Wow.
that was really the foundation of my career. And I had some really incredible experiences over those next, 13 plus years, to finally landing a job as a sports executive. I was the first female general manager of a AAA baseball team in almost 20 years, and got the
Wow.
chance to lead that organization, which led me to be one of the only women in the room and share my voice. And then I wanted to
Wow.
help other people do the same. So I started my podcast, Leadership is Female. And the same as I had experienced, like finding my confidence helped me to grow tremendously in my career.
Mm-hmm.
Every woman I interviewed said the same thing. And so I thought,
Mm.
what can we do with this information? And that's where I created my TEDx talk that went viral. It was called 6 Tips to Increasing Your Confidence.
Wow.
And it was actionable advice, like behaviors you can start today to change your attitude, which science shows that can change your attitude over time if you practice those behaviors that
Mm-hmm.
get you outside of your comfort zone. And so that's really
Wow.
where it came. It was my personal journey combined with so many incredibly successful women who leveled up in their career when they found their confidence and used it and used their voice to take up space in the room and really accelerate their careers.
What a unique journey you have, right? To be put in a space that is predominantly male, and a woman that needed to find her voice in that room, which I'm sure you came with your challenges, but just to have that opportunity to have a voice as a woman in that room. But then second too, I guess when you have a calling, you either go for your calling or you're pushed into your calling, where you're kind of in a corner, like, what are you going to do? And I'm sure you felt like that. When you first got into that position and you had to make those calls, what were you speaking to yourself? What was the narrative in your head that kept you going to move forward and staying in that position, and then, moving up the ladder?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer to that's really the first chapter in my book. It's called Find Your Why. So
Mm.
anytime that you are asked or called or put in a position to do something that is really challenging for you, but it aligns with your goals, you've got to know why you want to do that. Why is that your goal? Why are you in this position? And then
Mm.
what do you need to do in order to get through it? And so for me, my why was stronger than my shaking hands and my sweaty palms and my extreme discomfort in doing this activity day after day after day. Now, over time, I experienced some success. I learned how to do the job efficiently, better, got more comfortable, which is what happens, right? When we leave our
Mm-hmm.
comfort zone, at first it's very scary, super uncomfortable. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the great thing about being human is we get used to things. So
Yeah.
you get used to this new area, right? You've survived, you've lived, and then that's where your confidence grows.
I love that. Find your why. Find your why. And I can reflect at my own life, right? And see that there's been places where I'm like, maybe I struggled a little bit with my confidence, but you're right. Find your why. I had to go back to, why am I here? Is this what I'm called to do? Then what can I put in place to overcome my lack of confidence? So share with us, as entrepreneurs, what are the top reasons why we don't move forward and start? And I know confidence has a lot to do with it. What causes us to have purpose? What is it called? I think it's called be purpose with your paralyzed, or there's so many different phrases. But what stops us from moving forward as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs?
Well, I think the first piece is fear, and
Mm,
fear has a lot of different ways of holding us back, right? It's fear of failure. It's also fear of success. And I didn't understand like at all what fear of success meant. And I've come to understand it at a different level. And fear of success is if I do this thing and I succeed, now I'm in this new place that's going to
mm,
continue to serve me with more things that are going to make me uncomfortable, that I may not know what to do, that are going to continue to have me in this like upheaval, right? Sometimes the more you succeed, you're moving forward and then you're in new territory. So that's how
hmm.
I've come to understand the fear of success. The fear of failure can be self-deprecating, but it also can be worry about like what would other people think, right? Like which is the worst thing that we can ever think about is what other people think. But it's human nature, right? It's part of
Hmm.
being in society is understanding and wondering what other people are thinking and how they're going to react to your actions. But I think that like for me, one of the worst things that I could ever say is I could have done that, right?
Yee.
Like let that sit with you for a second. Like that is like
Yee.
a bomb drop in your life. Like oh, I could have done that,
You're
right?
giving me chills right now because I've said that before in my past. Like I could have did that. Like what is this? I could have done that. Wow,
Hmm.
so true.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think another piece that holds us back is like we may have this big idea or this big goal and we don't know how to get there.
Hmm.
And it seems like such a great idea, something we'd be really interested in, it add all this benefit to your life, but you're like, gosh, man, that destination just seems so far away and I don't even know what to do. And the answer to that is just taking the next right step, right? There's this
Yeah.
very strange saying, it's how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? But
Hmm.
that's how you get to any goal is one little step at a time. And I talk to a lot of women who will then go and make a to-do list with 49 things that they want to do today to take the next step. And it's like, do three, right? Like three every day, and you will
Right.
be shocked at how far you go in a week, right?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
49 a day it's too much, it's too exhausting. We're
Yes.
asking too much of ourselves and our growth, especially when you're entering into new territory. Like, make it simple, make it a little easier on yourself, and do the next
Hmm.
right little step, right? If you could write down three things on the top of your day, like on the top of your paper, you're starting out this Monday or this Tuesday. All right, three things I need to get done.
Hmm.
If you did those every single day, you would be shocked at how far your business went, right? And number one might be 10 sales calls or ten outreaches or 10 LinkedIn requests. Can
Hmm.
you imagine how exponentially your business would grow? Because that I guarantee for most people is like the bottom of their list that they don't get done and they move it to the next day and then they move it to the next day and they move it
Of
to the next
course.
day.
Of course. It's connected to the confidence that you're speaking about. It's like,
Totally.
I don't know. Especially, I mean, the request might be a little bit easier on LinkedIn, but the sales and the leads, that's tough. Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, fear of success. That is so true. I don't think we talk about that enough in spaces about the fear of success. We talk about the fear of failure. Of course we do. But the fear of success, we don't really talk about that often. And we have these big dreams of what we want, right? I want this, I want that, I want my business to be this way. But yet we have something inside of us that's the fear that won't let us move to the next step to get there. So we have the fear of failure, the fear of success. What are some other things that we have challenges with when it comes down to confidence?
Well, gosh, there's so many, right? Like we're all so diverse with the way that we've been brought up. Like everyone is just
Mm,
such this unique individual and human, and so a lot of that also comes from where we came from. Like, what did people say to us early on that was other people's opinions, right? I
Mm-hmm.
am what people say I am. I
Mm-hmm.
am what people say I am. So if someone had said that, early on in life, chess is a really complicated game. Like, you should stick to checkers. Like, it's so much easier. You could have kept that very, that's just one thing that one person says at one time, and you're like, man, I could turn that into like, I'm not smart enough to play chess. I don't know how to play chess. And you could
Mm.
carry that with you till the end of your days and never learn how to play that game. But that type of conversation can be applied to almost anything in your life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, you always show up wearing the wrong outfit. Like, this was this type of event and you wore this. Then you can turn that into whatever you want. I never
Wow.
dress the way that I should for these things, right? Instead of, I embrace my own unique style.
Yes.
Or on the chess piece, like, what are you talking about? Like, I learned how to play checkers. I can learn how to play chess too, right? Like, there's
Mm.
different ways that we're hearing and then receiving these messages. So, entrepreneurship is so difficult, especially because most of the time you're going it alone. So, it's up to
Yes.
you to figure it all out. So, if you have any type of conversation hanging around in your brain that you're
Mm-hmm.
not good at math or technology, or you're slow when it comes to whatever it might be, right? It's going to be really, really hard as an entrepreneur to take those next steps because you're thinking like, I have to learn this new tech and I'm really not good at tech.
Yes.
It's like, is that really true? Is that really true?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or could you figure it out? Right? You could probably figure it out, especially if we're using this tech example. Like, if it's something you really want to use, all these companies are giving you all these videos in order to ensure that you can use and stick with their
Right.
technology, right? So then it comes to the time, right? We're like, oh, there's never enough time. There's never enough time. And it's one of the reasons why I talk about intention so much when I go out and speak to companies, is because you can get people dreaming big, right? And then they default back into their old lives of like, oh, I'm too
Mm-hmm.
busy. I don't have any time. I can't do that, right? So if we're more intentional with our time and how we use our time, understand why we're doing the things that we do, right? You can be more goal directed and focused in the things that you agree to show up for.
Wow. That's so true. And I'm really glad to hear that you provide practical tools for the individuals that you're speaking to at companies or you're on stage, because I'm in agreement with you. We get all hyped up after we hear a speech, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out there and do it. Like your book's called Let's Go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. And then like after the hype, dies down and the adrenaline is gone, it's like, you know, you go back to your old habits or you're not implementing anything. And it's hard as entrepreneurs, especially as aspiring entrepreneurs. And starting is the hardest thing in the world. It really, really is. And we talked about the fear of failure, the fear of success. We talked about the narratives that we have in our head, but you also talked about setting intentions when it comes down to confidence and accomplishing your goals. Do you advise that we set a daily intention when it comes down to us achieving goals as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think you can really define what it looks for you as
Okay.
long as you can understand and hold yourself accountable for what you're going to do each day. Because
Mm.
confidence also comes from keeping the promises that you made to yourself. Like, I'm not going to feel great on Friday if I didn't do the things I said I was going to do this week, if I didn't keep those promises to myself. And I have a lot of promises to myself for the week, whether it's work related or exercise or showing up for my kids or whatever it might be. If I don't do any of those things, like, how do you think I'm going to feel? Like, where's my self confidence going to be on Friday when I didn't even keep the promises that I had to myself? So that's really where it starts. So that's why I like that you said daily intention. For me, that looks like, it might not be a phrase, maybe it would be some days or another, right? If I've maybe got a busy day on Saturday of kids' sports games and birthday parties, it's like, all right, I'm going to show up today with energy and
Mm-hmm.
fun and patience and enjoyment for all these things that I get to do with my kids. Like the get to do piece is huge, right?
Yeah.
I created this family and all these little lives, right? That was my choice to do it.
Right.
Like now I should be making the choice to like enjoy this time. Or when it comes to work, it's Wednesday, right? I'm looking ahead on my schedule to Wednesday and I'm like, all right, I have these two calls. What do I need to do to be prepared for those two
Mm-hmm.
calls? Making sure that I'm thinking about that the day before, which is why I like to look ahead in my schedule to make sure that I'm prepared. Okay, I've got 3 hours with nothing on my schedule in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? If I don't make a plan, if I don't have an intention for those 3 hours, they will disappear into zero productivity land in
Right.
no time, right? Especially
Right.
a lot of entrepreneurs are working from home. We're like, I can do the laundry and rearrange this random drawer next to the refrigerator, right? Like you can just distract yourself to no end. I'll call my dad back. I know he'll talk to me for 45 minutes, right? So
Uh-huh.
let's have some great intention with those hours. All right, I'm going to do my 10 outreaches. Oh, I have like 6 emails I have to follow up on and I didn't do it because it was going to require me to like look some things up or whatever. Like
Mm,
I will block that out in my calendar and kind of create this micro list of what I want to accomplish in that window,
that's
and
good.
make sure that I get those things done. Because if I leave, as much as I feel like, I can get so much done in a day, if I leave that time open without an assignment, there is nothing's happening.
Exactly. Especially when you start rearranging things. I already know. You're like,
Like,
oh my
yes,
gosh, what time is it?
yes, exactly. I'm like, I really need to clean out my closet again, right? I'm going to do it right now, right in the
Right.
middle of the day.
I love that. And you're talking about creating intentions on your own terms, but something that you can hold yourself accountable to. And I can agree with you with the list of a million things to do, and you're really going to accomplish all these things in 6 hours. Not going to happen. Be realistic with yourself. And speak to the entrepreneur that has had a past failure and they're starting over again, or the entrepreneur, the woman that has evolved and she's in this new place that's very uncomfortable, unknown to her. She wants it, she desires it, but she struggles with her confidence in this area.
I can speak to both of those because
Mm,
one, I've been a failed entrepreneur in the past. And two, I have had many iterations of my career. And number one, like, it's too bad that I have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I need it often. You have permission to do and say and be and evolve and change into whoever
mm,
you want to be,
yes.
right? Just because you've invested in one area does not mean that you're committed forever, right? Like there's two different paths that you can go. I didn't come this far to go this far, right? And so you dig in and you go harder.
Mm-hmm.
Only do that when you have this thing, like I call it like burning in the back of your brain. So I hope you can kind of envision what that feels like. Like you're like, gosh, this has been so difficult, but
Yeah.
I've experienced a little bit of success and I know I need to keep going. That's when you haven't come this far to go this far, right? But there's another way. Cut your losses, right?
Whew.
Cut your losses is the other direction you can go. And that's like, all right, there's been some loss here. One, I don't love this thing anymore. Two, I've learned so much about myself, about the fact that I don't want to do this business. And I've learned a lot about other people. I've learned a lot about whatever it might be. Like when you cut your losses, it is so important to take something from that journey. Like you have to extract
Mm,
all the lessons that you've learned even if it is under no circumstances will I ever be interested in that business again. Right? So
I'm
you
there.
can
I know
go
that.
in either, yeah, you can go in either direction. And then sometimes a great opportunity comes up and you go back to work for somebody else for a little bit of time. And that's an okay decision too, because there's so much that you can learn and you're going to be looking at it through a different lens when you're an employee again after you are an entrepreneur, that you are going to learn and
Mm,
absorb and change. And maybe you stay there and you love it. And
yeah.
maybe you think, all right, 2 years, I'm going to pour my all into this. I'm going to make a bunch of money on that person's dime. And then I'm going to cut again and, run my direction. Like you can do whatever it is that you want to do. But I guess in the end, like I'm saying, approach it all with this growth mindset. And
Mm,
nothing you do should be for naught. Like there's a lesson in literally everything.
yeah. And I love that. If I could have walked off frame after you said give yourself permission, I'm like I'm walking out the door, because that's so true. Like we figure we figure we have to give everyone an explanation for this change
Yeah.
in our life. Oh, we have to make an announcement on social media. Oh, guess what, guys? I know for me, I used to own a co-working space and the pandemic happened. I closed it, but now I'm gonna do this. We just feel the need that we have to announce everything that we do, but it's like you said, be who you want to be. I love that you
Hmm.
said that. And then you said it's okay to like cut it off. Like that's it. That didn't work. It's okay. But that sometimes is so devastating to your soul. I mean, the depths of your soul to cut something off. How do you
Hmm.
confidently cut something off?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
It's tricky. Well, okay. So it's all about realignment, right? We talked about when you make that decision, like that I'm not going to do this thing anymore.
Okay.
Okay. Well, all right. You're going to no longer run whatever that is. What did I learn in this process? What were the key lessons of this journey? What was hard 1 year ago that's easier today because I did this thing?
Mm,
If you can reflect and understand the growth that was achieved through that endeavor, huge. And I would say that the other piece is there is some sunk cost, right? There's a lot of times like, oh man, I lost this money, like I invested in
mm-hmm.
this thing. That is hard because we have this like huge, obviously money is what gets us the things that we need, to
Yeah.
live and to grow. But you can always earn more. I know sometimes it feels hard. Like I have my own issues with money. My parents grew up with not very much, and so that saver mentality was like poured into me when I was
Mm,
young. And so even today, as I've experienced a lot of great success in my life, but it still can be very hard for me to invest in my business, invest in myself, like spend the money that I've earned because I've learned to save, save, save. So it can be really difficult
yeah.
to say, I'm not going to do this thing anymore because I've spent all this money. But that's really where we have to go back to that, like, two mentalities, like, cut
Mm-hmm.
your losses, or I haven't come this far to come this far. But
Yeah.
you'll know the next day when you do another thing in the business, you'll know do if you want to keep doing it or not. Like it will happen. And the other thing that
Yes.
comes up is I'm not like a really crazy like I don't do all the things around, some people say like woo woo or universe or whatever, but I
Uh-huh.
swear every time I feel like starting something or quitting something, something comes up in my inbox or somebody says something to me that I'm
Mm,
like, oh man, I should do this or I should
yeah.
go. So just like be open to listen because, maybe those messages were going to come anyway, but like you're just more aware to what's happening around you. And you're going to
Yeah.
hear the things that you need to hear in order to make the decisions that your intuition is telling you to go in that direction.
I love that. Learning so much, y'all. I know you guys are learning so much. This is probably going to be the episode that gives women, especially, and men too, but some reassurance in who they are and their calling, and really, honestly, really going to give a lot of people permission to move forward in whatever you want to do, no matter what anyone says. So I thank you for being very transparent and sharing that part, because I think out of everything that you spoke about today about having a growth mindset, but the permission part is what some people need. It's literally like the key that's going to unlock the door to their potential. And I thank you for that. So your book, it's available on Amazon, right? It's a best-selling book. Let's Go, a guide to increasing your confidence, an essential guide to increasing confidence to lead a more intentional, goal-directed, fulfilled, and happy life. And I love that you said goal-directed. It's kind of like the business plan for your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you know where you're
Yeah.
going. If you could speak to young Emily, what would you tell her?
I love this question because have you ever seen that movie, The Butterfly Effect?
I have. I have.
So I'm like, I wouldn't tell her anything because I love my life, the way that it is today. But I guess sort of like metaphorically speaking, I would wrap her up in a hug and just tell her like it's gonna be okay. I remember when I was young, I had these big dreams. I still do. I'm such a dreamer. I'm so like goal oriented. I want to live this big life like of impact and fun and just say sky's the limit, right? But Emily from you know, young Emily, right? She was like, how in the world am I going to get there? I live in rural Illinois. Well, how do we get there? And
Yeah.
sometimes I still think about that today. Like, man, I have this goal. Like, what am I going to do? But over all these years, I've learned it's just taking what I think is the next right step.
Yeah.
What's the next right step? Over the last 2 years, I got back into running. I had been an athlete growing up.
Mm-hmm.
When I was pregnant with my second son, I hurt my hip while I was about 13 weeks pregnant. It was really scary.
Oh, wow.
I was really worried about him and about myself. And it happened while I was running. So I didn't run until 2 years ago. So he was like 4.5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
almost 5 years old. And I started running again. And I had this goal from back when I was like 20 years old that I would run a marathon one day. And so I jumped in with 2 feet and I'm like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon this year. I want
Wow.
to run one before my daughter turns 1. So it
Uh-huh.
required me to like get out there and start training. She was 1 year and 3 months old when I actually ran the marathon. But the biggest thing I learned in this training was I signed up for a race like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this app on my phone, this tool that I said, hey, here's the date I'm going to run this race. I want to train for it. I want to run this fast
Okay.
when it's race day. So I'll complete it in this amount of time. And while I'm training, it's going to be most convenient for me to run this number of days per week and on these days. And so you put this info into this app
Mm-hmm.
and it spits out a training plan. And it basically has this list and it's like, okay, on this day, you're going to run this far at this pace. And all you have to do is show up for your goal every day, right? Like it's Monday. It says I have to run this far at this pace. So like
Yeah.
where am I going to fit this into my schedule? And it just became such a metaphor like for my
Mm.
whole life. Like thinking back to Emily when she was little, how am I going to get, to
Yeah.
this big goal, this big destination? It truly is like literally one step at a time, one day at a time. I encounter it all the time in my business today. I'm like, oh, now I have to figure out how to do what? Well, it's one thing at a time. And most of the time, it takes like 45 minutes, but I
Yeah.
can spend 2 weeks working myself up about how I don't know how to do something?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I gave young Emily grace and I give, Emily of today a lot of grace. Just keep working to figure it out and do the things that feel good, that make you
Yeah.
happy. And, some days you're going to have to do things that you don't enjoy as much, but like that's business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if those steps are going to get you to your destination, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you embrace. I've had a couple interviews and they've said the same thing. I just want to embrace my younger self and give my younger self a hug. But grace is what we need to give ourselves. We really do, especially if you experienced any past failures. You really need to give yourself grace and like Emily was saying, learn the lesson and the takeaway from it, and then move forward in whatever you want to do, whatever your goals are. What's one thing you want to leave us with today, Emily, to inspire or empower our entrepreneurs?
Sure. So I have this quote in the book. It's my favorite quote. It's an adaptation of another one, but it's be so good they won't forget you. And what that means for me, I just want to provide like a little bit of explanation because some people are intimidated by that. They're like, what do you mean be so good that what if they forget me that I didn't do my job? But it's like, it's not exactly what it means. What it means is showing up as yourself, your best self, and all the things that you commit to do. So be so good they won't forget you is more of an internal game, right? Like it's not wasting your time and your energy, not being the person that you're supposed to be or that you're meant to be, not wasting opportunities or time with people because you're in a bad mood or somebody cut you off when you were driving there. Refocus, recenter, be so good they won't forget you, and all the interactions that we get to have in this life. And I'm here to live a big life. I want to hopefully inspire others to do the same. Life's too short to say I could have done that. So that's why I wrote the book, Let's Go, a guide to increasing your confidence so that you can confidently pursue your goals and share them with me because I love cheering other people on. I'm at that point in my life where somebody else's success gives me genuinely like so much joy.
Yeah.
So you can follow me on Instagram at Emily Jaenson, or head to my website if you're interested in learning more about my speaking, or my book's on Amazon. And I would just love if you picked up a copy.
Yes. And you guys pick up a copy of Emily's book, Let's Go. Okay. That's very sports related too. Is that
Yes.
why you called it Let's Go? Is because of your love for sports or?
Yeah, my love for sports, and it's just everything. Every time we're ready to make movement in our
Uh-huh.
life, right? We set a new goal. We're playing with a new team. We join a new organization.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like, let's make the most out of this opportunity. So that's why that became the title.
Yeah. So let's go, y'all. Let's go out there, achieve your goals, your dreams, live that happy, purposeful life that she talked about, that fulfilling life, because it's available for you. You don't need permission. Just go. Let's go. Thank you so much, Emily. I enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to connecting with you again. We'll put all of your information available on our links. But yeah, y'all, let's go. And Emily, we appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next stage that you got coming. And hopefully you'll come to California.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.